you everyone for joining us this evening. I'm Nikki Taylor Hendricks, and I am leading the community engagement for DDOT. We will be talking tonight specifically about the proposed State Fair Transit Hub, which will be a transit center located at the current State Fairgrounds at 8 Mile and Woodward. Okay, so to quickly go through this evening's agenda, I'm going to start with an executive summary, providing some background to the overall project. We'll talk through the community benefits that are slated for this project as well. We'll get into the specifics of the existing State Fair Transit Hub. Then we'll go into the vision and goals of the State Fair Transit Center. We'll talk about the proposed site for the transit center, community engagement, and then we will open it up for discussion with you, the attendees, to talk about location suggestions, any concerns, and just conversation about the transit center. Okay, so on Tuesday, October 20th of this year, Detroit City Council approved the State Fairground redevelopment, which includes a DDOT Transit Center. Overall, this is a $400 million redevelopment that is slated to bring 1,200 new jobs and entrepreneurship opportunities to the city of Detroit. The development site includes the 130 at State Fair that is owned by the city of Detroit, a development of a 3.8 million square foot state-of-the-art Amazon logistics facility, the construction of a $7 million state-of-the-art transit center, as well as a collaboration between Amazon and Detroit at Work on employment opportunities for Detroiters. Again, the Amazon specific location is expected to bring a minimum of 1,200 jobs. And it is worth noting that there were no public incentives or subsidies that went into this project. A little more about the community benefits. Again, 1,200 jobs. It is also expected that $2.9 million will be the net economic benefit to the city of Detroit over 10 years. The new transit center. There will be interior public roads with multimodal access and connections. And then community improvement projects that will be led by the General Services Division for the city of Detroit. So in summary, this is a really large project that has a lot of different players and people working on it. For tonight's conversation, we will be focusing on the transit center specifically and DDOT's involvement in the overall project, which again is the transit center opportunity. So let's talk about the current location of our State Fair Transit Hub. So currently DDOT has 6 bus routes that serve the transit hub, which is located on Woodward, directly north of West State Fair Avenue. The property is city owned. There is a lot of space, as we know, to build a full transit facility. And again, we understand that it is used for 6 DDOT routes, but also 7 SMART routes. So it is a regional connector that provides a lot of access and connections to and around the area. There is right now some space for drivers. It's really limited, but it is all made up of bus shelters and stops. So there is no inside, there is no transit center. It is just bus stops that have shelters and a small space for DDOT drivers. And this is what it looks like on a map. So what you're looking at is a map of the area. I hope you can see my cursor, I'm moving it around. Here is the existing State Fair Transit Hub. Again, it's north of State Fair Avenue, right off of Woodward. Currently, again, 6 DDOT routes serve it. Those routes are the 4 Woodward, the 12 Conant, the 17 8 Mile, the 23 Hamilton John R., the 30 Livernois, and the 54 Wyoming. Currently, we have 2 routes that serve State Fair Avenue en route to the transit hub. In addition, we have the 4 Woodward bus going north on Woodward. And then from the north of the site, we have 17 8 Mile, 54 Wyoming, and 30 Livernois traveling southbound on Woodward Avenue to access this transit hub. It's worth noting those 3 routes coming from the north have to cut across several lanes, make a U-turn to serve this destination. And we'll talk about that a little more later. In addition, these blue or turquoise stops here, where my cursor is again, represent local bus stops. So it's important to note that en route to the transit hub, there are several opportunities on State Fair Avenue, more than several, on Woodward Avenue, as well as 8 Mile, to catch any of the buses that are going to the hub. Right here, about 1/4 of a mile north of the hub, is the existing Gateway Shopping Plaza, which is where the Meijer, there's a Marshall's, Applebee's, and a couple other businesses are currently. To the west of it is the Woodland Cemetery. And again, to the east is the existing vacant State Fair property. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the vision and goals. So what we have here for the city of Detroit and DDOT is a huge opportunity to build a state-of-the-art transit facility and a transit center that can accommodate multimodal travel and commutes of our residents, visitors, providing direct access to destinations as well as seamless connections. Currently, the existing State Fair Transit Hub is used as a connector, allowing people to transfer from one bus to another, whether that's a DDOT bus to another DDOT bus, a DDOT to a smart, or smart to smart. But then in addition to that, people also use that as the bus stop to get to area destinations. The nearest area destinations are properties around State Fair Avenue or further north at the Gateway Shopping Plaza, which again is about 1/4 of a mile north of the hub. So the goals is to improve the transit riders' experience with a facility that promotes convenient, safe travel through the region, maintain connections. So again, 7 smart routes, 6 DDOT routes, and then create a facility that really promotes DDOT's vision for riders as well as staff with useful future-ready resources and tools. So we have an idea of where we would like the transit center to go. And we will talk through how we got to the recommendation that we have. Again, a big part of this evening's conversation is to hear from you, the riders and the community members, on what you think about the proposed location. And then if you have any alternative suggestions, now would be the time to give us those suggestions. So what we came up with from understanding the overall placement of the development on the site. We were able to see where Amazon is slated to go, as well as other designated spaces in the area. And again, understanding that the existing Gateway Shopping Plaza is a popular destination for travelers. And then ensuring connections, so making sure we can maintain the DDOT connections as well as the smart connections that serve the area. And lastly, just understanding the traffic studies of how traffic will flow through the properties, around the properties, and then the entrances and access points for traffic. What does that mean? So this is what it looks like. We have the proposed locations, which are, again, development sites, here. The Amazon proposed location is here, the purple square. Gateway Shopping Plaza, once again. And then here is where DDOT has an idea of where we would like the transit center to go. Oops, sorry. So where this is off of 8 Mile, to the east of Gateway Shopping Plaza, and then quite a ways west of the train tracks. This gives us the opportunity to do a couple things. One of the things, again, understanding that this is a logistics center, we know that there will be an increase in traffic, specifically truck traffic. So we want to make sure that DDOT, as well as SMART and any other mobility modes in the space, are able to effectively access the transit center. So just a quick concept that we've come up with, we can bring in routes 12, 23, and 4, same route. They'll come in off of either State Fair or Woodward. They can still enter and exit on Woodward Avenue and then head to the transit center that way. However, from the north, this gives us an opportunity to really improve how that routes that travel on 8 Mile access the transit space. Again, currently they have to travel south on Woodward quite a ways, cut across several lanes of traffic, make a U-turn, and either stop or go into the transit hub. This gives us the opportunity for them to make a direct left turn in and out of the property to quickly and safely access the transit center. It's also worth noting, you can see my cursor here, this puts the transit center about 700 feet away from the Gateway Shopping Plaza. And then we have the ability again to include pedestrian access. So making sure that these pathways and connection ways are safe and convenient for those who will be walking, biking, scootering, or whatever way they choose to get to their final destination if it's in the area. Again, local bus stops. So if you are traveling on any of the routes that serve the area, still local stops here for people to catch the buses at. And then we also have the opportunity here to maintain a nice bus stop that allows people who might not be going all the way up here if they're connecting to a bus. Let's say you're just heading southbound and you just want to hop off here to connect to a Woodward southbound bus, you have that opportunity. Or if you live in this area and you are walking, you still have a closer location to board the bus. I'm gonna leave it on here just for a few more seconds for people to get a look. All right, so now let's talk about community engagement for a second. This project, including the transit center, is slated to open in 2022. So there is quite some time to talk through this with the community. We are prepared, hoping, willing, and ready to allow this to be a true community-led project and understand from the community members, from our transit riders, what kind of amenities they would like to see. We want to know what you think about functionality and how we can really, again, make this a really, amazing space that's state-of-the-art, but it also promotes and provides other modes of mobility that people are already using. We know a lot of Detroiters, in addition to taking the bus, they also bike, right? So there's opportunity to say, okay, if you're someone who starts your trip on a bike, what type of amenities would you like to see at a transit center that make that trip easier for you? This applies to paratransit opportunities and many other modes of transit we have out here. So we will continue to engage over the next 1.5 to 2 years. And there will be some key ways that we'll be doing that. So currently we use our website. We post a lot online. So you're able to find flyers and just an overview of this project on our website. We'll have information on social media. And then we will be posting a lot of information at the current State Fair Transit Hub. So there should be flyers at the State Fair Transit Hub. If that's how you're getting your information, we will have that there. It's there now. It will continue to be there, as well as including the stop at Gateway Shopping Plaza. Another thing that we're going to do for this project is create a focus group. We want to engage people who are willing and able to participate with us and just check in with us, again, from now through 2022 for the life of this project. If you're interested in being one of those stakeholders and being participant in the focus group, you can reach out to me at connect the dots at detroitmi.gov. Again, that's connect the dots at detroitmi.gov. You can say it today. So during your comment, if you want to just mention it, we can jot it down and make sure we know who's interested in that. And this is to really just get, a group of people who represent our ridership, our very diverse ridership, right? So understanding that person who bikes and buses, understanding someone who uses paratransit, understanding our ADA ridership, to make sure, again, we're just really making this an amazing space that meets the needs of Detroiters. All right, so that's the presentation. Now it's time to chat. We want to hear, again, what you think about the location. So think about what routes you use that serve State Fair Transit Hub today. Think about, do you shop at Gateway Shopping Plaza? You work in the area. How do you feel about the location? And if you have an alternative suggestion, now would be the time to talk through that as well. So I'm going to actually go back to this map so people can see. Again, here's where we're proposing to put it. It's off of 8 Mile. All DDOT routes that currently serve the hub will serve the transit center. And that's it. So let's go ahead and open it up for conversation. My colleague Ayobami will assist me and call on people by name really quickly. I do see some folks that did get an opportunity to talk yesterday, or I'm sorry, not yesterday, but Monday. So if you are someone who already gave public comment and your public comment today is the same, let's just be respectful of the time and allow people who did not have a chance to speak to speak. And with that, I will turn it over to Ayobami for the first person.
Okay, with that, I'll go with Frank Hammer. I'm going to go ahead and unmute him.
Hi, Frank. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. A lot better than 2 days ago.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for recognizing my hand. And as some of you may know, I've been very, very involved with the fate of the fairgrounds as part of the State Fairgrounds Development Coalition. So I've had considerable amount of time to study what the plan is and what the purchase agreement provides for. And that's why I have a couple of questions in regards to the transit center. One of my questions is that, actually, let me give you 2 questions right now. One of them is that the purchase agreement provides for a berm to border along the State Fair Avenue, really tall berm, which is where the Amazon distribution warehouse is going to be. And the reason for that berm is apparently to protect the neighbors to the south of the State Fair Avenue from the diesel fumes of all the diesel trucks that will be going in and out to the destination of the warehouse. And which puzzles me because I don't think they're going to build a berm around the transit center, or maybe they are, maybe you can tell me that. The reason for my concern is that we learned from the review of the plan that 75% of the diesel trucks entering and leaving the warehouse are going to be using the same route as the buses use going by the transit center north and exiting or entering from 8 Mile. And if that's the case, and we're not going to build a berm around the transit center, what are the plans to protect the transit riders from every day encountering the diesel fumes that are going to be emanating from all the diesel trucks that will be going in and out of the warehouse? And then my other question that I have, actually I have a third question. The second question is that, as was mentioned Tuesday night, or referred to anyway, the city council passed a resolution when they approved the purchase agreement requiring a 3-month study on the preservation of the historic buildings. This is something that we brought to the attention of the city and the city council, and the decision was made to do a 3-month study. And what I wonder is, depending on the outcome of that study, is there a plan B for the location of the transit center? Because if they do indeed intend to preserve it, it would be currently in the same location as where the transit center is. So what are the alternatives that are going to be considered? And I realize that the clock is ticking with a 3-month window to be implemented. And the third question that I have is that in conversations with the development team for Magic Plus, the Magic Plus sector of the property along Woodward, early on, they indicated a plan for a transit center right along Woodward on the north portion of the Magic Plus property that you indicate in blue. And given that we've been hearing 2 discussions about a transit center, has there been any discussion by the planners or the folks involved with the transit center with that Magic Plus developers and MSU and specifically, because I know that they were indicating that they were planning a transit center along Woodward. So those are my 3 questions, and I'd be happy to be part of the focus group. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So environmental protection, yes, there are studies being done now to look at the environmental impacts. And that is, again, with this being such a large project with so many different city departments and people involved, we're all working together. So we will be referencing the environmental study that's in the works to make sure we are keeping our riders safe. That is part of our responsibility, and we will have information in that from our equity analysis to help us decide on the location. For the location in the historic preservation study. So yes, I did fail to mention that. So I'm gonna actually go back to this map really quick. This area that the transit center is proposed for is the Coliseum. The Coliseum is a federally recognized historic building on this piece of property. There are a lot of opportunities to include parts of the Coliseum in this transit center. So we have the opportunity to look at that as well and look at possibly keeping the facade and really using the Coliseum to enhance this transit center and pay homage to the many amazing memories people have at the fairgrounds. So that is also one of the other things happening during this time. And then for Magic Plus, I'll have to check on that. I actually am not familiar with them talking about a transit center. And for everyone else on the phone, Magic Plus, these two sites here that are labeled as Magic Plus, closer to Woodward, these are owned by another owner. So the city of Detroit does not own this property. I know there's been a couple of questions about, well, why can't you put it in the Magic Plus space? And that is not City of Detroit property. So what we are looking at now is property that the City of Detroit would be selling to the developer that they own. But I can look into that as well because I'm not familiar with that. And then I have you written down for the focus group.
Right, and can I come back to your first comment? I'm not sure in regards to the study that you made mention of, and the reason I'm bringing that back is that I'm under the understanding that Amazon will know precisely how many diesel trucks will be traveling up that corridor by the transit center by the virtue of the volume of goods that will be going in and out of the Amazon warehouse. They know exactly how many workers they will need. They've already put into the purchase agreement that they will have a minimum or up to 1,200. So I'm sure that there's already indications of how many diesel trucks will be traveling up and down that corridor, and therefore how much or what emissions that will be generated. So I'm not sure what the need is for a study. It seems to me more a question of how are we going to, by what means are we going to mitigate those diesel fumes as they travel up and down by the transit center, and presumably there'll be people standing out there waiting for the next bus, and those trucks will be going by and affecting their health, never mind the neighborhood, but certainly the transit centers. So why can't we make that determination already now? I'm sure Amazon has the data, and you could already establish what the hazard is going to be to the transit riders.
So when I say study, I include the mitigation factors. So once we're able to analyze that data, figuring out how to mitigate it would also be included in the same study.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to give you Jamie Jr. Should be unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi.
Hi, Ms. Hendricks and Ms. Bell Torrance. Good to see you guys again. Thank you again, Ms. Hendricks, for coming to our meeting earlier today. As you know, we stayed on the call and talked a little bit more about some more feedback that we could give. And we were thinking that it would be nice if the city could supply greeters or individuals to give information to people with different abilities regarding, someone there to help them obtain information. And additionally, the suggestion was given that maybe that would be a way to engage the disability community, hire some of us. I know you can't just specifically look for people with disabilities. I do understand that violates a law, but seek out help from and engage some individuals with disabilities, because studies show that we are able to relate to one another in a better way. We are able to help each other meet our needs a little bit better because we have the level of compassion necessary to recognize certain things that, if they're not top of mind, are not necessarily noticed. And again, I thank you for entertaining my suggestion, and myself, as well as anyone else from the Warriors on Wheels team, would be more than happy to be on your focus group and give you any more feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, and I plan to stay in touch with Warriors on Wheels throughout this whole process. So I appreciate y'all letting me talk earlier. All right.
Awesome. Go to a phone number. The last 3 digits are 976. 976. And you are unmuted.
This is Ms. Junior speaking again, and I'm not sure, since there's not a video portion, there may be an individual from the deaf and hard of hearing community that wants to leave a comment, and they wouldn't be able to do so without being able to be visible.
Okay, this was on the phone line. Let me thank you for that. So we can move to Mr. Cunningham. Okay.
Hello,
Hey, we can hear you.
good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
All right. All righty. Just want to thank you guys for opening up the chat. Just so everybody knows that's open. Not for having a password on this meeting for those who have hurdles. I just want to make sure the connectivity to smart bus routes. I don't know if Smart is on the line or part of the workshop, but I'd like to be part of the focus group. I left you my email. I want to make sure that you had it. 7mercy777@gmail.com. The numeral 7, the words mercy, numeral 777@gmail.com. But I would like to be part of the focus group in regards to the transit center. I feel like it might be a little too far up and away from Woodward, but there's people that with a lot more expertise on the line than I, and I like to yield my time to them. And just shout out to the Honorable Larry Donald Verse. He's always so wise when he speaks. And Mr. Hammer, appreciate you, sir.
Thank you. Yep, I have your email. And I have you down as somebody who would like to participate with the focus group. We have been talking to Smart. Smart has already seen this, and we started having conversations. There are many. Again, this is slated for 2 years from now, so there are a lot of conversations to be had. But the conversations have started, and I'm confident that, similar, if you're familiar with the Northland Project, we can work together at that caliber to make sure.
Yeah, you did an awesome job. Yes, y'all did. Awesome job at Northland Project. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, I had 2 hammers on the line. I didn't realize it was 2 different people. So I'm gonna unmute because I'm not sure which is which because they had the same name, but Karen, thank you for letting me know. And then, so the correct one, please talk.
So you're back with Frank, so it's.
Okay, I unmuted both.
Okay, thank you.
Because I couldn't both say Frank. Karen, can you hear us? You're unmuted.
No, she cannot hear you. You come up here. Okay, I'm bringing my wife to this computer
Okay.
because apparently there's something wrong with the laptop, okay? Thank you.
No problem.
Here she is.
Hello. Yeah, I kept asking if you could hear me, and clearly you could not. So I have a couple of questions. In this map, is the the circle down at the bottom, the yellow circle near the bottom, the present location, or is that a planned stop?
That is a planned stop. So it's pretty much where the current location is. So the idea is there were some concerns about accessibility for people who walk to the hub. So this is an opportunity for us to maintain a stop in that same area. And it will be on the street. So we would, make sure we have the amenities there and work with the other departments to make sure we have a nice stop in the same
Good.
area.
I'm glad to hear that because there are a lot of people who walk presently to the present location from the neighborhoods to the south. Now, are you aware that with every transfer point, that's a problem for riders? In other words, if someone normally would walk to where the location is now, they got to get on a bus and ride to wherever they're going. But if they have to walk to that point to get on a bus to get up to the transit center where you're planning it, that means they have to get off and wait for another bus to get on a ride to go where they're going. So that's more time. And if you're a mother with children or somebody with packages, that's quite a hindrance, or let's not say quite a hindrance. It's an additional hindrance to your ride and your time. So I assume as transportation people, you would try to eliminate the number of transfer points that somebody would need to wait at. In relation to that, does DDOT plan to increase ridership around these transfer centers?
Thank you. So first question or second question. Yep, we absolutely, again, will be looking at how to make sure these connections work for riders. So part of that is saying, hey, understanding what routes people are using, understanding what connections people are making, to make sure that we are not adding any more, I wouldn't say anymore, adding struggles to people's trips, right?
Right, right.
We want trips to be as successful, seamless as possible. So the other question, I didn't write it down. What was the third question?
Well, on this question of having to transfer, you answered my question and said, yes, we understand that this is an inconvenience. With each transfer, there is some kind of inconvenience.
Nope,
No?
I wouldn't say that, not at all. So I think so transferring is a part of transit, right? Taking a bus is taking a bus. If you use the car, you might have inconveniences of drive, right? You might have inconveniences of riding a bike. So I don't want to put that out there. We're not saying that riding transit is inconvenient. What I'm saying is we will engage the riders to understand how they're using the space to limit any type of connection issue. So one thing I can say, if you're coming from State Fair, I'm gonna go back to my cursor. If you live around State Fair Avenue, you can hop on the 12 Conant bus or the 23 Hamilton way before you even get to Woodward at this stop, right? Okay. You can do that anywhere on State Fair. There are local stops that exist now and that will be maintained. So the idea is you don't have to walk. If you wanna walk, by all means. If you wanna ride a bike, go for it. But we will maintain local stops for people to have the best access possible and to minimize any issues with connections.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Did you have I feel like you had
well, I wanted to find out if you are polling the present ridership regarding wait times and distances that they walk at this time, to compare with what that would mean for when the location is changed.
So that's what these meetings are for. The part of this workshop, part of this engagement is to talk to writers, hopefully, who use this space,
Okay.
to understand, again, their thoughts and how they use the space.
Great. So you can please include me on your focus group, and I'll put my email in your chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clairvoyant.
Hi guys, how's it going? Yeah, thanks for listening to us today. Yeah, I guess my primary concern is the preservation issue with this. I mean, just looking at like how much parking, how much of this is still spec space. I know on more detailed images of the site plan, we've seen that there's like drainage and retention area. So it's just like there's so much space available, and yet like the transit center is sited where there's a National Register of Historic Places buildings. And yeah, I would love to see the center in the building. I would love to see it moved a little to the north or to the east, or just, yeah, elsewhere on that, so we don't have to lose, you know, all or most of one or two very, very important buildings. Like I've just found when you tell people that those might go away, they're like, what? What? That why have we not heard about this? And it's like, yeah, I know. And yeah, I also share concern about moving it up and off of Woodward, kind of away from the neighborhoods. Like I know, well, yeah, there's the big senior tower there over off of Woodward and State Fair. And I know the Conant and the Hamilton both go that way. But like if you're just practically like trying to get somewhere or get home from somewhere, like the Hamilton's weekday daytime headways are once an hour, I believe. Like that's not the most practical alternative to a walk. Yeah, and I'm also curious whether the Smart Fast bus will still be able to access that location. It's, I mean, yeah, we all know, very popular, very useful route. And I also am just like, oh my God, we have something regional. That's really great. We should try and make sure it keeps working and keeps helping people and connecting with the rest of all these routes. So yeah, that's it. Thanks again for for listening to us on Today of All Days.
Thank you. All right. So historic preservation, check. Environmental, so drainage, yeah, absolutely. These things, again, this is, I'm going to say it again, this is a larger project. So there's a lot of people involved, including other departments that specialize in these things. So working collectively to make sure, again, this is a city, this is a City of Detroit opportunity here. So making sure that we are taking all of these things into consideration to make this space useful and successful for the whole city. So that includes looking at drainage, understanding the environmental impacts, all of that. So I also have your comment about either incorporating the transit center into the Coliseum or preserving the Coliseum. And then fast Woodward. So yes, again, we are talking with SMART, right? So these are early conversations we're having right now just to solidify the location. From there, we would then go into the connections, understanding how the routes access the transit center, and we will, try to work together to make sure we're maintaining these connections, and that does include the fast bus. That is a SMART route.
Thank you. Yeah, and I share the concern that we're like heading into this 3-month preservation study, but like still looking at like, I don't know, like I see that it's a process that like we have the potential to give feedback on the transit center through 2022, which is awesome. But like if those buildings go away this winter, that's that changes a lot of like what the possible options even are.
Gotcha.
Like we can't put them back.
Thank you.
Okay, Mickey, I'm gonna try to go back to the phone number. So 976,
Okay.
it is unmuted, so they have the ability. You can go ahead and speak.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm presuming you can hear me.
Yes, we
Yes.
can, Mr. Verse.
Okay. This is Larry Donald Verse of Detroit Speakers Platform Transit Justice Team. And my major concern is the health of bus riders. Then, preparatory to that, I'd like to make some points. One, the walking distance from the current stop where the 8 Mile and the Hamilton stop to the Meyer Shopping Center and the proposed new bus terminal is negligible. And there seems to be three major problems. One is historical buildings. Okay. Another is actually the health of those who will be riding the bus, including those that will be working for Amazon. And the other is actual placement of the center. Because the way I see it, and I will concede that I may be wrong, but I really don't think so, at least not according to the numbers, unless statistics and math lie, and they generally don't, people just lie with them. And I think we're being kind of hoodwinked when we talk about people walking from the current transit hub, as you call it, to Meyer. That's something they choose to do. Because from that transit hub currently, they can take an 8 Mile going east or a Hamilton and walk approximately the same distance it would be from the new transit center. So that's a myth. Now, my suggestion about the health of it is this. We're talking about them opening this plant in 2022. And everybody keeps talking about 30,000 people passing through the transit hub in a week. Those are the current numbers. And those numbers are down 83% from what it was before COVID-19. And let's presume, just for the sake of argument, that COVID-19 will have abated significantly and ridership will have even gotten back to a normal range, if not higher, if DDOT improves its service, which I hope it will. Okay. Now, one might ask, well, 30,000 is 17% of what number? I'll let you do the exact math, but it comes down to somewhere around 170,000. Now, looking at it realistically, a majority of those riders, a significant part of those riders, already have respiratory health problems or other ailments that make them extremely susceptible to respiratory health problems. Now, I would like to see not what everybody talks about, an air quality study. I would like to see a health impact study on what it would do to the riders at that current location that they want to have it at. I think they would pose some significant risk. And before I go farther with my suggestion, which will come in a hot moment, I would like to say it poses serious problems, not only because most of those, some significant number of those people with respiratory problems do fall in the ADA community. So there lies a problem. And the simple fact that there are a significant number of people of color, if you will, as they call it nowadays, it becomes a racial issue, especially when it comes to what is termed as desperate impact as opposed to over racism. So both of those place the city at significant liability. And it's liability that I believe the city should not have to face by making a stupid decision. Not that my choice would be so much better, but my suggestion is that the same lines that are proposed to run through the state fairgrounds after this modification be maintained. However, the transit center should most probably be moved to Magic Parcel, the one on the north side of the State Fair.
Mhm.
There's a yellow dot with a transit hub would be in the future on the south side. I'm talking the other Magic Parcel on the far side of that, or even on the near side of it, would result in workers for Amazon would have to walk just a little bit farther. True enough, they would have to walk farther, but that's the price you pay for good health. And where it's proposed to place the transit hub, simply put a transit hub. Where it's proposed to place the transit center, put a transit hub, which would let everybody walk close to Meyer. It moves the proposed transit center farther away from the center of the air contamination. Now we're talking about people's health. And I personally am concerned about my health as a senior citizen with some respiratory problems. The truth of the matter is this: I would give up the comforts of a transit center and even on-time transportation, all right, in order to avoid a slow and painful death, all right, from respiratory problems. Thank you.
Thank you. So I got a lot. And just to make sure I got your points. So I do want to clarify the 23 Hamilton and 17 8 Miles. So currently those routes do serve a stop that is on Gateway Shopping Plaza's property. There's a couple shelters there, and it pretty much puts riders between the Meyer space and then those businesses that are north of Meyer. So it's like a Wingstop, a Applebee's, stuff like that. What we've learned is that there are safer ways to get riders to destinations than a parking lot of that size that has car traffic, that has bus traffic. Again, people can be going to Meyer, they could be going right behind them. So this, again, the ability to put in pathways that make accessing parts of this property is a safety benefit for people who are walking to their destination if it's in this area, to just make it safer for that. So yes, while people are choosing to travel how they want to travel, and that's okay. If you want to walk to Gateway, walk to Gateway. But also, if you want to hop on a bus, hop on the bus. If you want to bike, that is all within everybody's realm of choice. So yes, we recognize the fact that we have two bus routes rather that stop at the hub and then continue to get the shopping plaza, but that point works for any of these spaces. So the idea of somebody traveling from 8 Mile, walking to the hub, that's their choice if they choose. State Fair, that was one of the points earlier, that there are destinations and residents in this area. So again, you have the choice to either hop on one of the buses that'll pass you or walk. But that, I mean, that works for this entire piece of property. Health concerns, historic preservation, and then just to make sure I have your suggestion, Mr. Larry, you're saying this area here where the yellow dot is on the Magic Plus property. Is that your?
There is a problem. I can't actually see the screen because one of the reasons I'm also using phone as well as screen is because I'm in a neighborhood where, at least at this time, it seems that no matter what kind of wireless you go to get, whether it's premium or cheap, it's unstable.
Okay. So you're saying, I just want to make sure I have your location recommendation. So you're saying the Magic Plus property, there's 2 Magic Plus properties, one right on top of the other. You're saying the one further south is the location you would recommend for the transit center?
No, actually, I was recommending the one further north.
Further north, okay.
But further south would work too, but I think that would create no, I see the screen now. It could work, but I would know it wouldn't work. I would rather have the one that's on the north side, not the one with the yellow dot, but the other one near future development. And we would work on making air quality safe whenever we determine what that future development is going to be.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Okay. Miss Maddox.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Marguerite and Scarlett. Thank you for coming in earlier. I missed most of it because my Wi-Fi keeps going in and out. So I am going to add something else. If it is possible for them to work with the Magic Plus and where the future development is, it can be moved a little bit north, and the transit center, it can stay the way it is, but transform it into the state-of-the-art transit center that I would love to see it stay on Woodward Avenue. And we need cover covered most of it for me. And, and thank you for staying on track about the railroad tracks. And if we could find out if Hemstead goes through there, and and for me, as a person with a disability, I don't mind walking, and but there are some people who may have difficulty, breathing. And one more question. Where will the best bus and the smart bus be if this state of the art transit center? Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Marguerite. So your recommendation is to keep it closer to Woodward. Your suggestion is basically where the current transit hub is, build the transit center there. I have that. I have your input on
Correct.
riders walking. There's a variety of riders we have to serve, so understanding accessibility to destinations as well as connections is important. And then we are, as far as smart buses, including the fast bus, we are including smart in this effort. So we've started having conversations with smart already to kind of say, hey, here's what we're looking at. Again, this is a proposal, so we are very early into this, but we've already started talking to them, and we plan to work together very closely to make sure all smart and DDOT connections can be maintained or improved. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a couple minutes left.
We have gone through all the names. The hands that are up are everyone that has spoken.
Okay. Okay, great. So thank you all again for attending. A couple of things I did want to mention that I did not mention earlier. So with this focus group, we have quite a few people who've expressed interest. We will be essentially putting out an application for people to say, hey, I'm interested in joining this focus group, and here's where I come in, because I really want to make sure we have a diverse group of people engaged. So this would include transit riders, obviously. Transit riders who use the State Fair area will be a key demographic that I would like to capture. But I also want to make sure we're capturing I also want to make sure we're engaging people who, again, might bike for part of their trip. We want to engage people who might work in that area, community members, Block clubs that are in that area, to make sure we're really including everybody in this conversation. So have all of your information for those who would like to be involved. And as we get more into this process, we'll be reaching out essentially with an application to capture your information, and then we'll select people to be on the focus group. So I did want to say that. And then that is all I have. So again, we will continue to post information. We have one more workshop that is scheduled for tomorrow morning. We're going to do a daytime workshop. Thank you again for coming. We will continue to post information. Again, you can find it on our website. It will be on our social media, and we will also continue to post flyers at the State Fair Transit Hub and the Gateway Shopping Plaza bus stops to make sure we're reaching our transit riders. So thank you again. And you all have a great evening.